Jason, I think a lot of young fencers always are struggling with the idea of kind of knowing their game and discovering their game. And can you think of a moment that really triggered you to become more aware of your game and how you approached it and how you kind of discovered who you were as a fencer and like really embraced your game and your skills?
Yeah, I went into college, and in high school, I didn't have the strongest results, and I was very down on myself for it, and I thought I wasn't very good. And I went to college, and my personal coach, Alexander Smirden, I call him Sasha, at the Ohio State University, he told me some very interesting things. And oftentimes he said, like, hey, I see you trying to hold in your screaming. I see you're like, you don't bounce around like you do in warm up. Like, I've seen you. It's just like you can basically standing backflip bicycle kick in soccer, but you don't do that on the strip. Why not? I said, well, I'm not supposed to. And he said, but why though? She's like, why don't you do the things you like to do? And once I stopped trying to make a game, he said, don't do that. Like, just be you. And once I started to do the things that were comfortable, once I started leaning into things, and he encouraged me, he said, oh, you can't feint disengage well, pull the arm back. Oh, you can't really do these things? Well, why don't you try yielding? Oh, you don't like defense in this part of the strip? Well, then don't. And he told me, like, don't, embrace the things that I was naturally good at. And it changed how I fence. It changed how I approached the game. It was comfortable for me to sort of like begin bouncing with like a tilt in my foot. And I heard for many years it was wrong. And it was very much like, if you score the touches, who cares? And I think that that was a very dramatic shift in my approach to what I could do on the strip. Always make it your own. It's just like the technique and whatnot, that's very important. But if it doesn't serve to make you more you, then, it's not doing everything it can, which is not how everyone sees it. I understand.
As a follow-up to that, so now that you've kind of embraced yourself and your game, then you talk about kind of the zone and getting yourself into like the mental zone. Like, what do you do to kind of find yourself or get yourself from your taking your game and getting yourself into the zone?
I feel like for me, a lot of it is, again, finding your winning triggers, like the mindset and the things that go on in your head to kind of make you fence your best. And they're not necessarily the same for everyone else. But I had a sports psych who told me, like, you've had days when you fenced really well. What was going on in your head? And amazingly enough, I had actually never thought about that. And when I realized that the days I fenced the best were the days when I literally stopped caring and the days I had the most fun. And somehow the day turned out incredible. And she said, maybe you could find a way to recreate that. And then I started going in a rabbit hole about doing different tricks or things that make the event the most positive way that was effective at winning. So, having a good time, like doing certain things that I wanted, and really like sort of like removing those sort of external pressures. And once I realized that, like, those mindsets, they're not magic tricks. You can train yourself to do them. There are things that you can do, listen to, say, and act and behave to put yourself in that mindset, which makes you more likely. You can't necessarily guarantee getting into like flow states, so to speak, but you can make it more likely. You can put yourself in a better frame of mind to fence. And that was, again, another dramatic shift in how I approached competition.